the NAL, at least for our casts, all that often, so it'll be nice to return to it. The band's already getting started as well. We're going to have a Ying right off the bat coming in from TSM, and the secondary attacker band coming up right now from Astralis. They will choose to eliminate the Flores. We have those fairly interior buildings, or interior rooms, I should say, in the building, which are going to be quite difficult to access when it comes to removing utilities. There's going to be areas like library on the second floor, the kitchen down on the first floor. You just really can't use like traditional grenades and whatnot to get rid of things, so Flores can be very useful for that, but not today, as they'll be banned out.
Offense getting rid of the nuisance operators, and defense looking quite clean in their bans. Valkyrie and Mira making the utmost sense for a map like Cafe, so that's going to leave quite a few things on the board in both circumstances. Lion, Dokkaebi, and Nook out for offense, so could see some Nook slinking her way through the building soon enough, but we'll have to see what Astralis want to do with their offense here. It's going to be warming things up for a kitchen defense by TSM.
Away from that, I'm not going to see any huge surprises here when it comes to those initial picks. Like you said, though, Kitchen is going to be the starting site for TSM. Still work themselves downstairs. This has become, for a lot of the NA teams anyway, kind of the go-to starting site. Third floor obviously is very much played out at this point, so teams are usually leaving that towards the tail end of their rotation, which is obviously in contrast to where things have historically been played. We've usually gone up there first. So you've got both of the second floor sites available as an option. We more than likely will see those played out by TSM at some point over the half. But aside from that, it looks like we are going to be seeing a horizontal setup prioritized for initially here, but given the operators, I would not be surprised if we see TSM try to extend this game a little bit further up to the second floor to try to waste some time up there as well.
So actually a pretty interesting fact about both of these teams, at least in very recent history, they actually both played Mirage already, so I'd like to talk about that a little bit here. Initially, we've got TSM up against Mirage that was actually able to take a dub on Theme Park in 7-3 fashion. Not only that, but Gasher and Snake both looked fantastic during that game, the two highest rated players on their entire team, and both +4 in their KDs. As for Astralis, though, it didn't work out nearly as well, and in fact, it was almost the exact opposite. A 7-4 in favor of Mirage on Theme Park, and not only that, but only Iconic above a 1.0 in rating. So Astralis, at least by proxy, could be looking down the barrel when it comes to TSM, and Merc going to be starting things off strong with a kill onto Iconic.
Talked about how we might see that little bit of an active room game being played on the second and third floor. Apparently it's going to be very active for Merc as he gets himself right up to the cigar windows and is able to pop off Iconic to start this off. It's going to be an operator they'll surely miss as well. The sledge goes away. We don't have a huge... Actually, I'll correct myself there real quick because we do have Shuttle on the buck. So with regards to the floor openings, not going to be the end of the world, but it will be the end of Merc's world. Trying to hop out the white windows. DP Fire will catch that, only losing about half of his own HP in the process, and now equalize out the player count.
I appreciate the aggression here. They've already gotten some of the drones off the board as well as Iconic, but obviously they still have that soft destruction potential in the likes of Shuttle. And not only that, but he's not rocking the C8, he's rocking the cameras instead. Some of these players starting to favor the DMRs a little bit more since the recoil patch, where it's changed up all of the recoil patterns and made it to where there's a little bit more initial kick on a lot of these guns. So the DMR are getting a little bit of a buff in that sense, where obviously it is that single fire, so a little bit easier to hit those repetitious shots and get a lot of damage off on somebody, even if you tag them just one time. And well, now for Astralis, they're trying to deal damage to the defensive setup. They've gotten control of the mid floor, and they'll start knocking out all of these walls with the skeleton key.
Away from that, things will go pretty calm across the map as Astralis continues to look for avenues to open up a cleaner path into the kitchen itself. You can see even the breaching charges coming out from J9O, so that death of Iconic we talked about before, certainly slowing down the process, but definitely not stopping it from activating in the first place here, as they have plenty of soft breach to make up the lack, of course, of Iconic in this run. More so going to be missing his fragging capability when it's time to entry into the site, a time which is approaching very, very quickly for Astralis here, as they have that hatch open. They have the bottom of white somewhat controlled, but of course the wraparound where you still have positioning from Achieved is going to cause some serious problems if they try to go directly for the drop. And there we go, Achieved with a good follow-through as well. He'll get a second one, knocking out Forrest and dropping the case in the process. So Astralis' execute is already nearly dead with 30 seconds to go. It's going to fall to Shuttle and DP Fire to make up the difference now in a 1v4. And we'll see DP Fire go down last there pretty quickly as well for TSM to lock in a pretty solid first round.
Very lackadaisical entry there from from Astralis, as TSM making some very solid effort on defense. They are able to deal an initial blow from Merc, and he's traded out. But the big thing is that we see Astralis not really get too much control over the actual players of TSM on site and around that bottom floor. And what it forces is Astralis to try and go for this drop play that we see right here. They're trying to combat this with a little bit of like a side angle from red stairs and things like Bakery, but they're not worried about this VIP player. So so Achieve just gets 2 free kills, and that's the round for TSM.
Solid one from them as well. Merc obviously getting himself quite active at the beginning of this one. Curious to see if he's going to try to deploy towards that a little bit more. Probably not, as we do need to focus a bit more on the second and third floor positions this time and make sure they stay alive for as long as the defensive setup will allow here. We are going to see, of course, a big extension come in from TSM now to fully reinforce Cigar as well as the freezer and cocktail areas. Whitehall, of course, plays into that one as well, just to try and waste out as much of the time bank from Astralis as possible before TSM is eventually forced away from that setup onto the actual site downstairs in, I believe, Library.
Well, you really hope Astralis has some burn here, because they are going to be bringing not only Aruni but Wamai here on Bolo, and we all know just how deadly he can be playing inside of that forward bathroom position, trying to hold things off for Christmas. Astralis is going to have to deal with that, but it seems like they've brought plenty of cards to the table, especially in stuns, having 6 of those in between Forest and Shuttle. But what we're really looking for is for Astralis to try and get the ball rolling in a positive manner, as they'll try and look for this opening pick here, but TSM have done a pretty solid job of being able to stay away from the intel game thus far.
Aside from that, like you said, Astralis is trying to figure out TSM setup here, figure out the best point of insertion for themselves, but taking it quite slowly as that first minute has gone by, mainly just with drone usage being the way to proceed forward here for Astralis. Yeah, but we don't really have a whole lot of their players working on actively droning forward at this point. More so just trying to set up, I think, those initial positions from the roof, and TSM just leisurely moving along inside of their third floor setup, waiting for that first move to truly come in at some point from Astralis here. Where they'll find it is yet to be seen, as that first minute has now completely elapsed, and again, Astralis still focusing on the drone game. You can see Iconic and Shuttle, along with DP Fire, moving around, trying to ice that at the positions of Bolo and probably a few other members of the TSM squadron, but have not found that winning way to get themselves into it just yet.
Yeah, Astralis only have one chance to do this the right way, otherwise TSM can end this round pretty early on here if these gunfights don't go in favor of the offense. Shuttle, he's going to be able to get some positioning here inside of Cigar, but it's going to be a quick trade back and forth between DP Fire and Achieved as J9O and Merkel go down. DP Fire gets gunned down from White Stairs by Gasher as he swings wide with an SMG-11. Not even going to take any damage at all. Now Astralis down to a lone soul inside of the building. Bolo's got some pressure from the white window here, but it's going to take a lot more than that to take out this player. They're trying to move forward. Shuttle will take him down with the cameras, and we at least have equalized going into the last minute.
Even so, still wasting out a few extra seconds here, and those are going to become incredibly crucial for Astralis as we enter the final minute of play. We've got this wrinkly little play being deployed by Snake, of course, has not been dealt with yet. More than likely spotted out now because of the shot that came in from the Mark 14, trying to take down that drone being thrown into Skylight. Gasher, though, still sees a moment of opportunity in the distraction that was provided by Snake, so he's going to move up top here. Snake, though, as you can see, dealing with some problems as he tries to get back in and prevent the case from going down on the ground. Won't be able to do that for us successfully. Locks in the plant, and now that timer is going to start ticking against TSM's favor.
Well, Gasher has a great position, but he can't find any members of Astralis. He'll finally take down Shuttle, but Iconic and Forrest still lurk around the mid and top floor. One inside of Reading, and it looks like that's going to be the first point of contact for Gasher. A smoke out, but a player still inside of Laundry. Will make the move here for Dining, but so many supporting angles. He's going to try and trudge up White Stairs, a stun out. He'll get gunned down on his entry into the Laundry room. It's finally going to be an Astralis round, but they're starting to collect him here early, as that's just round 2.
TSM potentially making a mistake there and realizing just how strong their third floor hold might have been for a retake situation there, as it really feels like Astralis, for the most part, is able to waltz right in through that library door, more than likely entering through hell, and unfortunately TSM just does not have the proper angles to work it from up on top once they're reduced down to those 2 players.
Yeah, Astralis did a great job of keeping TSM busy up top, whilst they accomplished a lot more down low inside of pillars and hell, like you were talking about, able to sneak in behind TSM or at least get a lone engagement that opens up the site for AST. So fantastic job from them, and that's immediately going to force TSM's hand as we're going to go sky high into the bar defense.
So the third and potentially final site from TSM. This is one of the maps where we do see teams tend to experiment a little bit with mining that fourth and final site as well, just because it's fairly similar and just changes kind of the setup you need to position yourself towards more than anything. Doesn't cause any huge title shifts in the overall strategy, so we might see TSM extend to that if things don't go too well here on the third floor hole.
Yeah, we've been kind of seeing teams work bar out as well, not really appreciating bar cocktail as much as they once did, and you can't really blame them. I mean, there's been a lot of delay for quite some time when it comes to this offensive unit and trying to get walls open and everything else, but with EMBs and everything else that they've implemented in the game recently, bar gaming, or rather bar cocktail, just not nearly as fun to play. But we'll see how TSM manages, as we don't get too many of these anymore. But past that, though, DP Fire with a new tool that we've gotten inside of the last handful of months here. Sense will be brought in this lineup, which could add an interesting wrinkle, especially if it's played from, like, I don't know, like Skylight or something like that, where you can really get that utility to make a nice cut across the site setup, potentially giving Astralis some openings to work their way in.
So we'll see what DP Fire is going to try to line himself up towards here, along with the rest of his teammates, of course, and trying to set up a successful entry for Astralis. Much like the previous round, though, it is going to be relatively quiet at the beginning. TSM has a spring-loaded setup for their defense, and Astralis does not want to accidentally set up the trap. They'll do it anyway. Snake takes the challenge from White Stairs, knocks out 2, nearly is able to catch DP Fire as well, but thankfully he's gifted the trade at a minimum. But even now, DP Fire not safe. We'll have another contender down on the second floor, ready to challenge him, I believe, from the inside of Dining Room if they want to fully swing out for that peak.
No one ready for the aggressive play on White, and Snake gets away with 2. TSM have done such a solid job of playing from an advantageous point as well. So see if they can try and hold on to this. Achieved with a fantastic read, but he can't get the shots lined up on a DP Fire. He had that supporting angle from Forrest down low on White as well. A great clear here. It's going to give Astralis the mid-floor. Good
composition from Astralis to not let things go completely awry after the double kill from TSM at the beginning. Nicely played, of course, from that member of TSM, but Astralis have rebounded beautifully and have now evened out the player count. Gasher with an angle, but not able to succeed upon it. It's going to be unable to get that kill down below, so things stay even at a 3v3, and Gasher won't take the risk on that positioning anymore and needs to send himself back over to Cocktail, where things are a lot more well-aligned for himself and the rest of his teammates. When Astralis are ready to make this play, Bolo holds for 1, but he now goes down to DP Fire. The Sense may not be providing a whole lot in the utility department, but for frags, it's working out great at the moment here. 3 kills for DP Fire in the round already, and now they've brought it down to a 2v2.
And it's the funniest thing, because so many pros were talking about how this gun felt so good after the patch, and it's really paying off for DP Fire. Yes, he might not be able to get it inside of his utility, but he'll get it back with the rifle instead. He's going to toss out a bunch of these, and this is going to look quite interesting from the defender's point of view. DP Fire going to push 4 White Stairs. Looks like J90 wants to try and get a supporting angle up top or drop into new balcony. He'll choose the latter as they try and wrap themselves around this last bastion of TSM's defense. Gasher and Merc lying in the wings inside of Cocktail. They know one's coming up stacks. They know one's inside of Bar, but somebody's got to blink first. It's going to be Merc. He gets gunned down. It's a quad for DP Fire. He knows where he is, and it's an ace for Astralis. DP Fire stands tall in round 3.
DP Fire single-handedly taking on every single challenger from TSM and able to win out every single one of those attached fights. Beautifully played by him, and he's going to pop off deservedly so here, as he pretty much has just handed his team around on a silver platter. The lead comes along with it too now, as Astralis will be up 2-1 over TSM, giving them 2 out of 3 losses on their initial site rotation. We'll see if they want to try to go for the 4th site, but if not, they do have the kitchen unlocked to return to that now.
You really got to feel for Snake there, because you get those first 2 kills, and you're like, all right, the round's practically ours. There's nothing that Astralis can do.
This down.
Yeah, and then DP Fire spawns into the server, and he's got a problem with that, so he's going to take it to TSM. And Astralis are going to get the lead for the very first time as well here, leading from the offensive side of the coin as well, which I got to say, seems pretty hard fought. I know there's quite a bit of utility in play right now that we really haven't had throughout the stage thus far, but Flores and Ying on Cafe are 2 amazing operators, especially Flores with the way that you can get rid of influential shields and positioning, kind of like Bolo upstairs, and make it so much easier for Astralis. But instead, they were like, no, we don't want to deal with this. We're going to try and do this in a harder way, and they're accomplishing that as of right now.
All right, well, let's see if the Astralis roster can keep that train rolling against TSM. TSM, of course, did decide to make that return back down onto the first floor, so we are going to see a more traditional operator lineup as well for holding on to this one. It's going to be fairly similar, of course, to what we got back on round number 1, because the round number 1 hold was pretty much flawless from TSM, so no real reason to change that one up. It's when we move to the upper floors and those upper sites. that TSM has to be a little bit more cognizant about potentially shifting a few things around here, since things go a bit more awry there, mainly due to the exploits of DP Fire, of course, in the previous round, but the team overall with that great insertion in through Hell to take library control as well. Finally going to start to see Astralis steal some map control away. Mark is ready to descend back down onto the second floor. Things get a little bit too hot for him, but at the same time, players from Astralis taking their own time to make sure they don't overstep their bounds and give that potential play opportunity over to currently Merc holding the third floor.
Loving the adjustment back to the zero and picking up Forest here. Snake takes down J9. Nobody putting a drone at the bottom of red stairs, just thinking that TSM are going to slow down the aggression simply because Jackal's cleared out a lot of that area up top. There was no footprints or anything of the sort. They think that they're able to work their way in, but obviously that is so very wrong. An aggressive peek here, and fortunately enough for both members, wow, take my words back as Merc drops the hatch. That just seems like the angle that you do not want to take as the offenders. Every single time it's a jumping fader from the defender, and this time the ball just happens to be in Merc's hands.
Early round from Astralis overall has to be quite frustrating in the 4 rounds that have been played out so far, as they are just constantly dealing with aggression from TSM, and unfortunately they don't really know where to look for in a lot of situations there. So it's leading to quite a few lost players at the beginning and quite a bit of lost utility as well.
That's exactly why I was talking about Jackal and Zero. That's why I was so happy I wanted to get to that point, is they brought all that info to try and hamper down on TSM's roam. But TSM did such a good job of avoiding the initial parts of that info game and then immediately capitalizing on the fact that TSM didn't really know where they were. And now we're going to see the ramifications of that. Astralis have to try and climb out of this hole.
Down to 46 seconds already here, so Astralis very quickly running out of time to even get themselves onto the first floor. This is where they floundered outright on the first round here, just could not make that transition down onto the first floor, and as a result of that, TSM had a very, very successful defense. Unfortunately, it's looking like a potential repeat of that is bound to happen, considering Astralis does not look very confident in the lineup that they are going for right now. One player trying to hop in through the window, but unfortunately there's an alibi clone in the way. That's giving all the info over to Snake, gets the pre-fire off, but is unable to get the kill outright. Instead, that'll fall to achieve to shut it down. Either way, it's very, very one-sided to TSM, and they get a very convincing second round onto the board from that kitchen defense.
It boggles my mind how comfortable these rookies look with this team. It looks like this team has been together for quite some time at this moment. And I mean, you can really say the same thing when we were looking at the Soniqs, right, as well. Like, the teams just look like they're meshing at such a high level for how long they've been together. TSM now draw it 2-2. Up against Astralis. Haven't had to deal with their offensive side yet, obviously, so we'll see how that goes when they get there, but they're going to be headed back towards this mid-floor. Now, a lot of these trends have been set thus far throughout the rounds by, players like Snake and players like Merc that are able to get these big initial frags, but for Astralis, they've been having to force a lot of things around the map. The big round, obviously, that we've been talking about is their big Hell play that happened thus far, but past that, it's been radio silence from Astralis. We've kind of just seen them trying to work their way around what TSM's setup is, but getting caught off guard in a lot of different instances, and it's making it to where the later part of the rounds are really difficult for them to try and pull back across the line.
So we're going to see if that difficulty continues to shine now as they'll make that return up to the second floor. Things were a little bit more stable, of course, for the library hold itself, but as you mentioned, that Hell play potentially throwing off TSM, making them think to themselves they still would have been able to crunch it, considering they had those 2 additional players upstairs holding, but
not again!
Unable to make this early round work. Astralis is, for I believe the 5th round in a row, going to lose a player before they can even get to the inside of the building. Forest will go down. That's going to eliminate all of the Nomad charges as well, and it's from a very uncommon position that we'll see the shot come out from as well. Works out beautifully here for TSM as Snake continues to put fear into Astralis at the beginning of these rounds.
Man, the only counter to that at all is just to have those early drones out there staring at windows. You cannot move from your spawn until you confirm that. And honestly, I think that's something that we're going to start seeing again, John. This is a thing for a long time in Siege history once people kind of get comfy and start spawn peeking again and that kind of stuff, especially in a professional way. It comes down to that info game and really what you can get early. So we're probably going to see a lot of teams trying to confirm that they can even move out of spawn from now on, at least up until they can start, getting some shots back and potentially getting some big picks that could slow down the defense's aggression for that opening minute. But TSM are going to get away with it yet again. And not only that, but it's Snake for the 2nd or 3rd time here.
Merc, of course, going to try to get sneaky from the inside of the primary bar on the 3rd floor as well. We did see an attempt to make this play work out back on round number 2. Didn't really work too successfully, though, so going to have to see if Lightning can potentially strike on the 2nd attempt. Astralis, though, quickly running out of time. About half of the round now gone away. Nitro going to be deployed down to the bottom of Whiskey, but it's a little bit too obvious of a play. Merc will not be able to make the connection on that one. What we will see, though, is Bolo able to line up another pick here. J9O trying to move forward deeper into mining. He gets cut off. Now it's going to set us down to a 5v3. DP Fire is still locked on the inside of this one as well, so no safe harbor for Astralis to escape this current situation. They'll need to commit themselves even deeper towards it here, but quickly running out of player count is not going to make the situation look promising.
Yeah, Astralis did a good job of setting up the area to try and support J9 moving through, but nobody was there to try and assist him if he did end up getting fragged. Nobody close and that can actually walk through the building. Everybody's on windows or rappels or something of the sort, so practically impossible for them to try and barrel their way in and get a refrag or anything like that, unless obviously a TSM member wants to try and peek into them. So now Astralis worse for wear, 3 versus 4 in the last 40 seconds. And not only that, but they have to worry about Merc on flank. Forrest, luckily enough, on a drone. We don't know if it's in the area, though. If it is in the vicinity, then potentially Merc gets sussed out. But as of right now, body language-wise, it doesn't even seem like Astralis are aware of the situation. DP Fire looking over towards White. Iconic with a nice kill into sight as they're trying to work their way through Library, or rather in through Laundry. It'll be Gasher to take down DP Fires. They're still stacked inside of this room. Merc has the ability to take them down, though. He'll see one and take out the Twitch, but it's only left up to Shuttle. He has the case in hand, but he's worried about the verticality coming back through Laundry. He'll get caught from Cocktail in the reading hole, and TSM take the lead back.
Astralis was a bit of an awkward shuffle at 2 points in the middle of this round. One when they were, of course, trying to push themselves deeper into mining, and they kind of get stuck there, so not really sure what they were able to do past that point. And then later on in the round, when they move into Janitor as well, I think they were expecting TSM to have a wider rotate main in that position, and you can see they get jumbled up a little bit in those final seconds. That opens up Merc to get at least one of the kills he got at the end of the round, and just overall did not let Astralis push forward and get the map control I think that they were hoping to have at that point in the round.
Yeah, there's so many safe havens for TSM to be playing around on that mid floor. I mean, Pillars is completely free for them, and that's exactly where Bolo's lying in wait. There's no drone, no information at all, and the biggest punishing factor for Astralis is that Forrest was already dead and they had extra drones. They could have just set a drone in there before they went for that play, but instead they thought that they were going to be able to slink J9O in quickly, or maybe have him punish Merc inside of Train with, you know, maybe Merc just being a little bit too comfortable over swinging or something like that, and just not knowing that J9O was going to be in the area. But instead he gets caught off guard by Bolo because they simply don't know that he's there. And TSM deal a death blow to Astralis yet again. They're making this defense work for him.
So time to see if they can seal the deal by locking in the lead outright, of course, at a 4-2. Astralis still, given the 2 very successful rounds they've had, are going to be right behind that at only 2-3 right now. So a very good capability for them to be able to tie this one back up, especially considering that we've made that return to the 3rd floor. And more so for the DP Fire fans at home, he's made a return to set. So I'll have to wait and see what exactly he'll be able to do on that operator. Coming into this round is, of course, the last time we saw it, for those who may have not been tuned into the stream, got an ace and was able to win, I think, like 4 detached 1v1s, and of course that 4th one led into another fight as well. Just absolute domination over TSM the last time he assaulted the site.
Yeah, truly disgusting. Not able to get too much done with the utility, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers. You get an ace with the primary gun.
Got like deeper into White for himself. That was about it, though, really, with the green screens.
It's so funny watching those things bounce around, though. They kind of have a mind of their own at some moments in time whenever they are able to tap debris and things like that. But past that, though, back in here for round 6. We've got Achieved on the pulse this time around. He's got a solid read on DP Fire, playing White once again. Awaiting the arrival of the pulse. I think they got some info. I think Iconic's actually going to sneak up here and try and kill him, and he's going to take him down. Achieved. He had the 6th sense, but he's blind to the play. Snake won't be able to take down DP Fire and keep things equal, as well as slowing down DP, making sure that ace doesn't come through again.
It's going to be the problem as well. There's definitely a 6th sense for Astralis. Snake may very well have a 7th at this point with the way he's playing here. Always finding that initial entry, or at least initial pick-off for the defense. This time it's going to come 2nd, of course, but still made the impact regardless. And now we're going to see a very quick pinch from Astralis all the way up the top. White Gasher ready for the challenge. The clothesline's iconic. J9O will pick up an exchange. Good read to catch the play from Merc, and Forrest as well fends off the challenge deeper into Cigar. Beautifully done by Astralis to take that top White position. TSM strongly thought they could crunch it out, and as a result of that, Astralis frag their way to a tie game at 3-3.
It's a little difficult to piece together the last couple of moments there because we were just really focused on that force up white. But I do believe for the remaining members of Astralis, we're seeing a drop from new balcony as well as like skylight and stuff like that, trying to apply that pressure while TSM are completely distracted by the cocktail take. And it works out so very well. You can even see the doke on the rappel for white window. You know, initially it really did look like a weird round for Astralis yet again, but they come back and they surprise. They show us exactly what that strategy was and why it works so well, drawing that aggro from TSM and able to punish them for it. Now TSM going to be switching sides, and obviously same for Astralis, as we'll be headed into round 7. TSM will be on offense for the very first time.
Not the worst defensive half from TSM, but certainly could have been better given the map. They win 2 out of 2 of their kitchen defenses, and they're able to close out on 50% of their library holds, 0% unfortunately on their third floor holds. Now they're on the attack, of course, so it's time to switch that stat focus over to Astralis and see what they can do, as they'll also be going back down to our first floor hold here. A little bit different in the operator selection based on what we were seeing from TSM. TSM wanted to be a little bit more mobile. Astralis wants to focus a little bit more on the insight utility this time. So we're going to see Mozzie coming out for intel denial. We've got 2 forms, I believe, of nade mitigation. Indeed, we were between the Aruni as well as the Jaeger. Mute's going to help out in the utility, or rather the info department as well. And then Shuttle, of course, will have the Malusi's Banshees to try and slow things down if TSM want to try and force the issue a little bit too early.
Yes, indeed. And now for Astralis, not too much of an aggressive front like we've seen from TSM across majority of their defenses. Gonna be playing things a little bit more tight-knit, trying to play it more onto the actual setup, but unfortunately not for J9O. I do believe he's already lost his deployable, actually no deployable shield intended to be here in the first place, as Astralis doesn't have it in their lineup. They'll also have an ADS here instead, but they're still going to drone out VIP, as it is of the utmost importance when you start trying to work towards white, you try and deal with these players. They're going to have force on the support for brown stairs as well. TSM starting to build up for this portion of the map. It's going to be a nade in. J9O, he saw the shadow, he knows somebody's probably on white stairs, as Gastro will take down DP Fire, but that was in a completely different portion of the map. Force is still going to try and help here with the booze window, but nobody's committed to the play as of now, so Astralis will still be waiting to try and deliver an initial blow.
Things will slow down quite a bit as TSM wants to make that entry over here from white into VIP as well, but you're going to see Achieve realize it's a much tougher puzzle than first appears. He takes a serious amount of damage. It's a miracle he didn't get cut off completely, so at least be able to escape up the stairs, now clearing out third floor as well as the second floor here, while his teammates figure out what the best next move is going to be to try to take control of VIP downstairs.
Very appreciative of Achieve's decision-making there. Get up top, try and abuse the balconies to overlook Pillar as well as brown stairs, and potentially find Iconic or other Forest still playing inside of that area if he chose to stick around. But now for TSM, this clock's starting to eat at them. We've gotten into the last minute, and Forest as well as his opponent still dance around on the top floor. On their respective balconies, Achieved to hold top of red as Gasher will take down Iconic. This is going to open up the site, hold a little bit more. That grip starting to loosen as Bolo tries to get the kill here onto Shuttle. Drone info looks solid. Force is going to be able to take down Achieved though on that top floor, so they'll have to worry about this flank, but they've got more things to worry about. It's J9O from Sync as he'll take down the case holder.
3v3 is what it devolves into now, and a very, very timid one for both teams. That nice find from Forest up on top, though. This vertical angle maybe making up the difference here, and you can see it's put the fear into Snake. He does not want to try and proceed further down the red hallway to take Whiskey away, as he can get cut off on a flank. J9O winning out one more, and Shuttle as well to take it all for Astralis here, as they're going to be able to bring it back under their control, and the lead will be included in that as they'll surge ahead at 4-3 over TSM.
Yeah, Forrest is the MVP of that round. He took Achieved on an absolute trip right there. That was incredible. Keeping Achieved on the roam clear there, trying to hold things down on red and just see if Forrest wanted to stick around the area. Not only does Forrest get Achieved, but he's also able to completely stifle TSM's actual execution. They try and work their way in towards site, and Forrest says, nay, double nay, not allowed. You will be completely executed for trying to work your way into kitchen. Astralis is going to take the lead back here as they're going to get their very first defense.
Good solid foundation built up for Astralis, but it's the very same one that TSM also used here, so both teams will equalize on that front. The real test, of course, is going to be coming up on these next two sites, assuming they pick the same two that we saw out of TSM. We're going to see operator changes to facilitate that as well. J9 wants a little bit more of that mobile capability to set up cover, so he's going to bring the Azami into the fold, more likely to defend things up here on the third floor, wasting out that time bank from TSM, as they'll have to clear things out just as prominently as we were seeing from Astralis. Almost had an interesting repick there coming from Merc. Was looking at potentially throwing the knock at us, but instead goes back over to the Ash pick, which even that's still an interesting pick in this day and age. We've obviously started to see her more and more now with the recent meta shift coming into this new patch, and this round, of course, going to be no exception.
Yeah, which funny enough, you know, with the meta and how things have been going over the first week and a little bit today here, no Lion, Doe, or Nook really being picked up at all. And I think this really goes to show you that not only do not a lot of teams really have that many reps with these ops, as they're more than likely seeing that they'll potentially be banned out, but also past that, it shows how much utility is required to get through a map like Cafe, where, you know, there are so many areas that the team, or rather the defense, can set up a large amount of utility and force you to clear all of that. And, you know, you don't have the right stuff for that, you could run into a lot of problems. I mean, obviously those ops do have quite a bit nowadays with Gun 6s, EMPs, and frags abound, but, you know, TSM trying to go for more of a straightforward kind of avenue with these frag grenades, especially on Sledge and Yana, backed up with stuns as well as some flank watch and everything else in between. Even got Merc on one of his highlight ops from back in the day, Ash.
So J9 going to be continuing to pace himself back here, wait for that initial clear to come in from TSM. Not going to find it too much. TSM taking a very analytical approach so far to this round, relying very heavily on that drone game and just kind of bracing themselves for any potential swing we might get from Astralis as well. But Astralis not too aggressive here, not trying to swing themselves out. Just a slow process of control and Cigar right now for the TSM roster as they'll move forward. Snake will be able to take out a few of the Azami barricades. J9 did actually have to retreat from Whitehall entirely, I think, to set up another barricade to support the cocktail hold a little bit, but that has left his position, at least the one he wants to play into, quite vulnerable. He doesn't know how far TSM has been able to progress up, potentially towards that pixel doorway, or even worse, into the bathroom while he was looking away from it. So he's not looking to take that risk here as he goes around the corner leading into the Whitehall itself.
What a delay this has caused from TSM, though. They don't know how to dice up the building, at least as of right now. This top floor set up like quite the bastion of defense. J9 thought a grenade was going to be coming in, something of the sort to try and assist with the situation, maybe some stuns and some aggression, but instead it'll be coming from the windows. He's just trying to hold the white player, and it's still going to work out for Snake. They were more occupied with what was going on inside of Cocktail, and it pays off in quite the bountiful way, taking out two, and now Astralis now down to Iconic and Shuttle in a 2 versus 5. Fortunately enough for them, though, they have time on their side, and some good info on the pillar player, but oh no, Shuttle not able to see Merc as he dropped, I guess, and he'll get caught off guard with the G36C in hand. Iconic gonna try and stop a flawless round. He'll at least do that, but his life more than likely fleeting. He'll be able to get at least the case holder. My God, Iconic. A triple kill with the 416C. No. Make it a quad. Snake will shut him down. Iconic looking indomitable inside of Reading, but fortunately enough, TSM have every body and a kitchen sink to throw at him to shut it down.
I got way too close there. Iconic allowed to get away with entirely too much on his defensive run inside of the 1v5 that he nearly wins. Gets 4 kills, I think, in less than like 2 to 3 seconds. Really some incredible stuff from Iconic, but for you guys at home, I'm going to have to ask you to really quickly go and Twitter tweet thank you Snake to whatever his Twitter account is, because he just saved TSM's butt right there by making sure he at least closed out on that last kill, and has really saved TSM in quite a few other situations as well. He's leading the charge, at least tied alongside the other new member of TSM as well, Gasher, both sitting at 9-6, 9-5 right now, with Merc following closely behind at 7-6.
Are you looking at this lineup from TSM right now?
I just wanted to finish my point and let you move on.
There is a mountain on this team, and not only that, that mountain is 1-7 and is all somehow still Bolo, while his other teammates are all just running a frag fest across Astralis right now. Bolo is going to end up switching off of the Monty. I was actually really excited for that. I thought we were going to see some crazy aggro plays coming out, you know, very forceful with the things that you can do with Monty, but instead he's going to be going for the bread and butter. The Zofia works her way in, and not only that, but it's Zofia AR. I'm going to take every chance I can to say that as the LMG meta has worked its way out, and we're all much happier for it. Unfortunately,
there's a Thorn selected on Astralis' side too, so that may have put a, no pun intended, but a thorn in the side of the plans from TSM TSM here. Sorry, I couldn't think of a better word to use in the spur of the moment. But yeah, so that may have kind of made them think, like, okay, maybe the Montaigne's probably not going to be the best idea if we miss a few of these and end up losing him due to that one, so they end up pulling away from that one and indeed put him on more traditional Zofia pick.
Yeah, I think it'd really help Astralis to deal with the snake in the grass on TSM.
There you go.
You're welcome.
All right, so opening action getting started here. Astralis want to try a few tricks here. We've got a Nitro Prime from the defensive end of it. Good to hold it, though.
He didn't throw it. I was so scared. I was terrified.
Did not want to commit to that one, so Iconic holds it back. And is going to try to wait for another opportunity to maybe let this Nitro sing a bit later into the round. He'll get hit. I'm not really sure where from. Maybe the back, like, cocktail, or not cocktail, back cigar window or something was able to get a shot off on him or something like that. But weird angle either way, as it's only one bullet for now. So he's just going to kind of awkwardly crouch his way over towards the cigar closet hatch and make sure that, all right, if that was a real shot hitting me and not just a random stray bullet, I'm going to get ready to evacuate.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to evacuate from that split-second nade timing from Achieved. Iconic never even saw the warning indicator, so he goes down outright.
That would, like, just walking across the crosswalk and just getting smoked by a car with headphones in, man. Like, they're literally, no, like, just not a sign of anything in Iconic's eyes. Zero, you know, chance to be cautious in that situation at all. Completely caught off guard, especially for me. I was not expecting that out of nowhere. Either way, TSM, they'll open things up with that, but yet again here, this timer is starting to get to them. DP Fire going to take some damage, same as J90. And obviously, we already saw what became of Iconic. DP Fire is going to try and hold on to this top floor as of right now. TSM, are they going to switch gears and try and go for a mid-floor take instead? It looks like they still want to try and make a deal with the Devil. Astralis, they're going to get caught off guard as DP Fire tries to work his way down the hatch. J90 still occupying red stairs, but hasn't found a way to try have any influence over TSM's attack just yet. Seems like more of a late round play building for him.
Timing or just game sense about knowing when to peak where for TSM has been absolutely phenomenal today, especially for players like Snake as well, but some of these other players have been showing some really good stuff, such as that pick we just saw on the DP Fire as well. Far more often than you would expect, TSM are catching players on Astralis when they just really can't respond to it, such as the nade that went in against Achieved. However, we are going to see a little bit of a flip around here now. Snake will try to stem the tide, but Forrest will put him back down before he can really put a dent in the overall defense here. Achieved, what went wrong there? The nade drop, apparently not primed enough, as he'll end up killing himself with it as he drops down the hatch. Gasher now alone, going to try and sneak in the plant. He's going to get a shot snuck off onto him, and Forrest will finish it off with the shotgun as well. A round that maybe should have gone a different direction, but some mistakes to split second. Calm them down a little bit, give them a few corrective notes, and send them back in as that pause is now concluded. We're heading back into round 10.
Well, I think for a team that's went to back-to-back majors here up against a squad that's basically reinvented themselves since they won SI, it's a heck of a lot closer than any of us would have assumed. I think for Super, he more than likely saw this ending up at like maybe a 7-3, potentially a 7-4. We still have the opportunity for that. But for a lot of us, I don't think that we saw maybe Astralis getting this far with how some of these previous games had went, but they've at least are starting to show signs of life in a really good way, especially some of the things that we saw from offense. But these defenses starting to light the world up, having some of that late round lethality, especially in the clutch moments that we're used to seeing out of this squad.
It's also a map that we mentioned at the beginning here that we don't see too often played at the NL, at least not for our cast at least, so it might be a little bit unfamiliar for these teams too, and that could be contributing to some of the closeness coming into it. I think it was Super that mentioned at the desk as well, Astralis could be coming into this one with a lot more confidence. Maybe they've rehashed their strategies building up into stage 3, and for TSM, they just don't really bring it out that often, so for them it could be a while since they've actually, you know, rehearsed their own strategies, and they've got 2 new members to work into that strat book as well.
Exactly. That's the big thing right there. Yes, TSM is amazing at Cafe, but are you amazing with 2 new players?
At least with Snake, it doesn't really seem like it's good to beat, to be fair, because Snake has taken this early round aggression role beautifully on the defense, and even on the attack, I think he's been able to get at least a 1 opening kill for himself as well.
He's out-fragging Merc right now, which is usually the person that we look to have those opening moments. Bolo's usually that mid-round where he can just be the game decider if he really gets going. So we'll have to see how the remaining rounds go, though, as TSM are now down their timeout and looking to try and get it back in blood here in round 10. Astralis will have a pretty solid defense on the top floor. Azami will be supporting this, as well as some ADSs out of Iconic, but TSM have the utility to try and deal with this, but can they get it done without a Snake? That's the real question.
Indeed, Snake will falter. An uncommon turn of events as of the results of this game here, so he will fail to pick up that opening kill, and it'll be Astralis instead to remain stalwart, not needing to give up any positioning. We are going to see a potential cross line up here. I saw the silhouettes working towards it a second ago, but it's not going to align so early. J9O will be able to peek back out into the cigar bathroom. As you're going to notice, not a whole lot of action going on here, so not really much for him to look towards. He does have this correct pre-fire angle established, but he needs the player on rappel to oblige that, and just not going to happen. In the meanwhile, Merc, though, once again, the timing on the fire coming in just lines up beautifully with the movement from Astralis almost every single time. That'll give them their opening kill now against J9O. Put us into a 4v4, but Forrest quickly making up for it. Adds one more to the counter for our defenders here and allows for the rest of the team to retreat back into the actual site.
Well, the rookie's gone for TSM. It's down to the veteran pillars of this team to pull this rope back across the line. They need round 10. They don't want Astralis having match point already. Merc's got a good angle up top, and the potential to take out Pulse here might be a pre-fire or a nitro cell. It'll be the latter, but it won't be a peek from the Pulse, and that's what Merc wanted so very badly. Trying to dance back and forth, the shuttle down low, but no killing blow from either side just yet. Shuttle's going to get tagged up so very much, but somehow still keeps his life. They're swinging for white stairs. Iconic takes down Bolo. Astralis, they're getting so far ahead here on this reading defense. Shuttle will finally die. Iconic takes out Merc. Achieved. He's the lone soul for TSM now. He'll be able to at least make this a little bit easier on himself, but with 10 seconds remaining, how can he get this done? Both Astralis members on the same playing field. DP Fire will get tagged up. The other member of Astralis runs for the hills, and that's going to be the round for Astralis. It's 6-4 for the defense.
Astralis keeping it nice and safe there in the 2v1, not wanting to take any additional risk against the Chiefs. They split, both going either direction, leaving it in a situation where, in a worst case scenario, Chiefs going to get one of us, but there's absolutely zero chance he can escape to get the second one as well. Nicely done there for Astralis. Cool, calm, and collected throughout the entirety of the round. Even through losing a few of their players on their upstairs hold, they're able to respond to that. I believe Forrest picking up a lot of those trades there. And then we see the rest of the team calmly pace themselves back, just proceeding according to plan onto that second floor hold in the site where they're able to wait out the rest of the time and shut down the remaining push from TSM.
I truthfully love Astralis' initial game plan with that pick that we see. They get that kill and they immediately hightail it back to site. They're going to keep that man advantage, and not only that, but Iconic is on a completely different playing field, not even close to that top floor, trying to abuse some plays around that mid-level, and he gets another pick on top of that. And that's just that massive punch you're looking to try and get against an offensive unit. Slow down their play, make it to where they can't risk as many bodies to try and clear out some of the portions of the map that they so desperately need to try and get a plant down. I think Astralis did this very swimmingly, and now looking to close this out 7-4. So we'll see if they can get it done. We're going to be stuck back to TSM's soft breach setup. We're not going to be bringing the Zofia this time on Bolo, instead the air jabs to try and hold up the flank, but we're still going to have Merc on Ash. And I think he's sick of it, John. He's got the R4C in hand now.
Let's see how that changes things up for him now as we go back to the default and potentially unleash Merc. If he can line himself up for it. Of course, it'll be on that first floor hold, so a lot of intricacies that TSM will need to be wary of, whether it's the bakery extension inside of Coat Check, the upstairs holds that are actually quite prominent from Astralis too. Full third floor extension from DP Fire. I believe we have 2 more on the second floor also, so quite a bit. TSM won't really be able to just throw themselves into the building at any point here. Going to have to spend a good 30-40 seconds droning things out before they're even going to be able to justify a safe path in from the roof, let alone anywhere else from the building.
Yes, indeed. And TSM taking a page out of what we saw Astralis utilize on their offense. The Jackal will work its way in, not going to have any pairing utility like a Doke or anything like that. It's just going to be the Jackal to try and deal with some of these roamers. And he's a solid choice, especially like that a lot of the Jackals are picking up the PDW now. Such a solid SMG, got that 50-round drum and a 1.5 on top of that. So great choice for the defender, or rather for the offenders, to try and bear down on a lot of these positions with an overabundance of ammunition. TSM, specifically Merc, going to be going for the most Ash play that you potentially can. It's going to be the crouch walk strat down white stairs. There's going to be a drone to try and assist and clear things out. He's going to be able to get rid of a nitro cell, but they should definitely be aware that there is someone positioned around this area now.
Fire's trying to see if he can get lucky with that flick spray there. Not going to be able to find it. He'll proceed back down, as it seems like most of the extensions have been dealt with now by TSM, whether just through brute force or outright kills. Not going to be able to see any real damage coming onto the Astralis roster just yet, though, so they're continuing to hold in their horizontal setup as we enter the last minute of play. And TSM really yet to touch this floor, let alone begin to clear it out here. So they've got a lot to do, and not a whole lot of time to accomplish it. The good news is that they've got a lot of soft breach, so they are going to be able to do some of this vertically now that you begin to see the sledge, as well as, of course, the buck begin to open up all of that tiling sitting above the kitchen as well as the bakery.
Well, the good news for TSM is that Astralis only had a singular nitro cell, and they've already gotten rid of that, but that doesn't stop Astralis from trying to swing into some of these angles. Just like that, Force is going to take the fight inside of Prep, and Achieved is going to go down. That's the sledge gone. Gasher has a lot more to do now, and not only that, he's also the man that has the case. So how is this going to work its way into the actual site? We'll have to see. Astralis, they still have all of their men alive as well, so they can continue to play some pretty crazy crosses, especially for Red Stairs. Merc not given an inch. He's trying to take a mile. He's going to need some assistance in this. Snake's going to try and smoke things off. I think they're going to go for the direct hop over, but this is more than likely going to end up with bodies on the floor, as Forrest will be able to take down at least one. They might have gotten the cross, and they did indeed, but is it zero timer to end the round? It will be. Astralis take it to the house in 7-4 fashion.
Nowhere near enough control over that first floor hold for TSM to successfully knock out the players from Astralis and be able to fully give themselves access to kitchen. So it's one more very successful defensive setup from Astralis.